We have completed the questions coming from the panel, and we will now begin the portion of the program where we will ask questions from the listening audience. And I'm trying to remember desperately who answered the last question first, and I think it was Tim James, if I'm not mistaken. You candidates keep me straight. We'll start with Dr. Bentley regardless. And as you can see, Marcelo Munoz is stirring up the questions, and I can promise you I have no idea what these questions are going to be, just like you sitting on the dais. And so we begin. Oh, this had to be a setup. No, I'm just kidding. Dr. Bentley, we'll begin with you. How would you employ the fair tax without doing away with the state constitution? So the nature of the question is fair tax with regard to state policy, I assume, as opposed to federal policy, Dr. Bentley.
Well, that's a difficult question because the fair tax is a federal tax, and we're mixing federal and state taxes. Let me answer it, if I can, this way. I believe the fairest tax is a consumption tax. And I have always felt that consumption taxes were the fairest because everyone pays them. Even those who are involved in the underground economy, which accounts for about 20% of our economy in this state. And I believe that's the only way that you can catch those people because they're not going to pay taxes any other way. Illegal aliens who do not pay income taxes will be caught with consumption taxes. Most people, if you ask them the question, in Alabama, if you ask them the question, what do you think is the fairest tax? They will say consumption taxes. People in Alabama do not like property taxes. And we've seen that before because we have voted it down in the past. Property taxes are not liked in Alabama because more people lost their land in Alabama in the 30s and 40s than any state in the Union, especially farms. And so that's been ingrained in the people's minds. So consumption taxes, which is similar to the fair tax, I feel is the best way to tax, and I think that's the fairest way, and I've always felt that's the fairest way, and will continue to feel that way. Having said that, we must remember that our budgets, especially our education budget, is based on income tax and sales tax, which is a consumption tax. So in order to stimulate our budgets of our state, we must stimulate our economy to produce more sales taxes. So, I mean, it's a circle that we have to go in, but consumption taxes to me are the fairest.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say that the fair tax is an approach to a national sort of reconstruction of our tax system, and you know, as Dr. Bentley said, the tax on consumption is a better tax. We actually are skewed that way in Alabama, where we have more sales tax and other types of taxes, so we already lean that direction. What I'd like to do with the rest of this question is basically talk about my stance on tax in general, because the only fair tax I agree with is just to lower every tax you can get, and pretty much am opposed to taxes. Now, the reason I want to tell you that is when I was in Nicaragua, or when I was in Honduras helping the Nicaraguan freedom fighters, I made $585 that whole year. When I got back, I didn't feel like I had to file a tax return because I didn't make that much and I was out of the country. Well, the IRS filed a tax return for me. They said, we're estimating you made $35,000 last year, here's your one deduction, and please send us a bill for $12,000. Well, you can imagine just coming back from down there, the hair got up on the back of my neck, and I'm like, I'm not filing and I'm not paying. And so I fought the IRS for more than a decade. Eventually I filed and I paid some, not all that they said I owed, but all that I didn't owe it all. That's kind of a long explanation, but I want to leave you with this. Every candidate, every Republican candidate will tell you they are anti-tax. I'm the only one that will tell you it's because it's personal. I have never voted for a tax. When I was on the Birmingham City Council, there's a few people here that were represented neighborhoods when I was there. They'll tell you I voted against every single tax in 4 years, over $1 billion worth of taxes. With state budgets and the condition they're in, there's going to be a lot of pressure to have people look at raising taxes. And I can assure you, I will not be voting to raise taxes.
I too, I like the fair tax in the national, in terms of our national tax policy. It cleans it up, it gets the IRS out of the system, and I think it's healthy. But I want to talk about taxes here in Alabama. I will veto any new taxes on the working men and women of Alabama. And I say it not because it's a political rhetoric. I understand the math. Let me tell you, we're talking about proration and what's happened. 80% of all the tax that goes to Montgomery goes into public education. Dr. Bentley was talking about that. In 1998, 10 years ago, we had 730,000 children in public education, K through 12 in Alabama, and about a $3.5 billion budget. Today, we have 730,000 children in public education, K through 12, except we have a $7 billion budget. Over the decade, we've doubled the funding and the number of children have stayed the same. We don't have a money problem, we have a management problem. You could drop another $1 billion in the top tomorrow, and I promise you, if you don't fix the system, we'll still have our teachers having to go to Walmart to buy supplies and toilet paper and the rest of it. This is why I will veto any new taxes. The second reason is very simply, we're in a deflationary recession. U.S. dollars, at least for now, thank the good Lord, are strong, powerful units of exchange. You can take U.S. dollars and you can buy twice the house, twice the farm, twice the stocks, twice the bonds today than you could 2 years ago. So the last thing that you should ever consider is moving this powerful disposable income out of people's pockets during this deflationary time. Thank you.